Hey, do you want to come over and make a pot of tea, bring your favorite crystals? We could talk about our birth charts, spirits, the latest house spells we've been doing. Welcome to the neighborhood. I'm that witch next door. Hello, neighbor. Welcome back to another episode of That Witch podcast. I am Danny, that witch next door, and I am so excited to be letting you know that Shadow Chats is back.
We're back,
not only are we
baby.
back, we're back on Libra New Moon Solar Eclipse. And Ash, first of all, say hello to everyone. We missed you so much around here.
Oh, hi. I am so glad to be back right during witchy season. It's getting cold. It's time for our snuggies. I'm just here for the vibes. Let's go.
I'm so into it. Mm-hmm. What is your favorite season?
Autumn, fall.
Yeah, same. 100%. Yeah, I am in my element. 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
Take that little edge of the heat off. We're not freezing our asses off yet, but I need a hoodie and I like a hoodie.
Exactly. We got fires and marshmallows and hot cocoa and pumpkin spice. Yes, I said pumpkin spice.
Oh, yes. We are
I love all of it.
Huge stands for pumpkin spice in this house.
Seriously,
huge.
Candles and cranberry. I love fall. It's like the only holiday
I have burned through my first two fall
for.
candles already.
Dude, seriously. Oh my God. Gonna get some more later.
I love it. I know. And it's bonfire season. So like when you go out at like in mid-afternoon or like early evening, I should say, and some people have started their bonfires. Oh my God. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I love it.
Yeah. This is special because our very first episode of Shadow Chats was for the Libra New Moon 2021.
Wow.
And this is going to be our fourth time we have talked about the Libra New Moon together. I know. Isn't that so cool?
Shout out to the folks that have been listening since then.
I know.
Wow.
Because you're here.
Yeah,
we see
you're
you.
Here.
I know.
Yeah.
Like it's
2021, my God, wow.
I know. Think back. I think back to those early recordings. If you guys can't tell, or you couldn't, Ash and I like really clicked immediately. So that made it easy. Even though that very first Libra New Moon Shadow Chats was the literal first episode we've ever recorded of anything together. Yeah. We had just met for that giveaway that I won of yours before.
Yeah, I remember
and chatted
that.
a little bit. Yeah. And it just
it's crazy how time is going by.
I know. And then the amount of shit Ash and I have seen each other through. I know.
2025 needs to be the year, the hermit year, for us to like do something in person. It needs to happen.
I know. Everyone, we need you to pull together with us and manifest Ash and I meeting in person.
And let us know too, like if you guys want us to do something live, where should we go?
Yeah, where should we go?
Space
would you guys be down? Because we're on the East Coast. Yeah, Ash and I are really not horribly far away from each other. I think a handful of hours. When people around here talk about like, oh, we're going to New York for the weekend. And I'm like, how far away is New York?
Not that far at all. No. You're not far. Neither am I. No. So we could do something in New York. We could do a number of things, but
I know.
I think
options.
We should let that cook. I think
we should. There's Massachusetts, which has lots of options. I mean, there's options. You guys let us know because we have to. I think that you're right. Maybe for our 4-year anniversary, our 5th episode, we'll be doing something in person. I love it. I know. I love it. So speaking of Libra, and all of this is so Libra already. It's like connecting and relationships and coming together.
Yes, it is. It's very Libra.
So Venetian right now. I love it.
God.
So this is the Libra New Moon, my friends, and we're in eclipse season. as
we
well.
Are.
If you don't already know that, we are in eclipse season. We did technically, with our last eclipse, it was a lunar eclipse, we kicked off the first of the Pisces Virgo axis. With this eclipse, we're back to where our main eclipse season and cycle is right now, which is actually the Libra Aries axis. Since this is a new moon, this is a solar eclipse, and that means that the moon and the sun are in the same place as one another on the chart. So I've been hearing so much wonderful feedback from everybody about Astrology After Dark that Ashley and I do together.
Me too.
Over on her podcast. Yes, the Goddess Complex. First of all, go follow and subscribe right now if you haven't done that already.
That's so fun to do.
Exactly. They're just really fun ways to practice and study astrology because it's like hot gossip. So it's perfect. But what
Speaking
so
of which,
many
the Diddy
of you
stuff,
love,
not to change it, but the Diddy stuff, I got so many DMs on our Diddy episode and what's going on with him right now.
I know.
So many DMs.
It's so honestly validating when we
really
do those episodes and then shit happens and we're both like, just saying.
That. Yeah.
Just saying, we talked about this.
We sure did. Sure did. Crazy.
The big reason why you don't even realize you're really learning on Astrology After Dark is because we're gossiping with the chart in front of us. And so we're pointing out where we're pulling this
Oh my God,
from.
Gypsy Rose. Have you been seeing the Gypsy Rose stuff?
No.
Her and Ken are
I've been in
a
Little Rock since school started. I'm like buried in school right now.
Her and Ken are about to break up. It's a whole hot mess. Everything we said is coming into fruition, girl. It's a hot
Color me
mess.
Surprised. And guess what?
Do
it's Libra season.
Later. It's Libra season.
Shocking. Isn't she Libra sun or rising?
Maybe Libra rising. She's a Leo sun. There's
definitely a major Libra placement there.
There is. I can't remember what it is, though.
Oh, yeah, Leo
there is
sun.
One.
There's a big Libra placement there because we talked a lot about it. And that's why I'm like,
shocker. I can't remember.
Possibly.
Either way, guys, listen to the Gypsy episode and then do a deep dive on her right now on YouTube because it's insane what is happening right now with her relationships versus what we said. It's crazy. Everything we said.
I'm going to go re-listen to it and then dive into the current gossip. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Part of the reason it makes it so easy is this visual. And Ash and I both, like, as astrologers and people who also teach astrology, will be the first to tell you that we know that this looks overwhelming and don't let that scare you away. There are way, way, way too many of you that are like, oh, I don't understand what I'm looking at. And you live off of that little list only that lists out all of the planets and placements. And this is the perfect type of setting to look at the visual of the chart because when you're watching someone break it down, it's just in these little bite-sized pieces.
Exactly.
It really is overwhelming. And I also wanted to pull this up because look at the geometry of this chart. So just right off the bat, when it comes to like the visuals of these lines in here, which for anyone that doesn't know, these are planetary aspects. They're just different ways that the planets are activating or interacting with one another. And look at how these lines ribbon out here and the symmetry that we have in this chart, which I like looking and pulling from things like that because I think that shows up for a reason. And it's so fascinating that this new moon is ruled by Venus and we have this like very pretty looking chart. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Venus loves pretty things. And I'm looking at the chart against my chart on Astro Future. So it's interesting to look at. And just to kind of echo what you said, Danny, we know as astrologers that the charts can look overwhelming, friends. But, you know, the only way you learn how to do something is by continuous repetition of doing it. And so if you really are interested in astrology and getting to know your chart or the charts of others, just stick with it. And little by little, you'll start picking up little things here and there and you'll understand and what we're saying and what we're...
Exactly. It's so true. Honestly, I don't know about you, Ash, but when I was learning the actual chart, don't get me wrong, I used this helpful list all the time that just showed you, but I would make myself go, okay, moon in Libra, go find that.
Yeah,
go
that's
find
exactly what I did.
Yeah,
Yep,
what's it look like? Even if I didn't understand it yet, I would make myself go look for it. And just like Ash said, that repetition alone is what's going to make it.
100%. Yeah, just keep looking at those charts. Even if it's yours, just keep looking at them.
Because as you can see, if you were using this visual as an example, if we just pretended to ignore this whole actual chart for a second and just look at this list of planets, how we're not getting any of that prettiness, right? We're not really seeing the full-blown interaction. We're really just reading a list, honestly.
Yeah,
we're really just reading
I was just going to say it's very direct and to the point. It's very left-brained. And astrology, although it has left-brained components, I think it's more right-brained than it is left-brained because there's so much interpretation and inferencing in being a good astrologer. A good astrologer is really good at inferencing.
Exactly.
So you need both brains.
Exactly. The left-brained part of it comes from learning your basics. Learning your building blocks, learning your symbols, and then, like we said, the practice of visually referencing. But honestly, the rest of it, I have told every single student and most clients across my desk, you are really getting to a place where you want to let the chart tell you its story.
Yes.
And that's what will happen. And it becomes when you're, when you've looked at the amount of charts that Ash and I have, it gets easier. You get into that mode where you open up the chart and you go, okay, you jump out at me. You tell me what we're talking about today.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What jumped out at me?
Yes, that was my first question. Perfect. I was like, how is it talking to you? Yes, exactly. What's jumping out?
This is probably not going to be a surprise, but our dear friend Black Moon Lilith, baby. She's right. Yeah, she's right up in the mix in this eclipse here. Well, now, obviously, we have a stellium, 3 or more planets in one sign. So the Libra energy is doing its Libra energy thing, honey. But Black Moon Lilith, she has this beautiful, elegant, eloquent overtone to anywhere she's at. When people think Black Moon Lilith, they often think auspicious, shadowy, dog type energy. I think sexy. I think elegance, know. I think playful darkness almost especially coupled with Libra.
A true Dom to me.
Yes.
Not like a cheesy Dom. I'm talking a fucking she's the boss.
She is the boss, Yeah. And so, off riff, a few things in honoring Black Moon Lilith's placement here with this eclipse is having some really deep conversations with your connections and your relationships. That's the obvious thing. How are my romantic relationships? Am I actually okay here? And what needs to be worked on and worked through. But I think something that's even more playful, especially if the romance is fine, is enjoying that romance, experimenting with your partner, being sexual and sensual with your partner or partners, having pleasure. Exactly. Really incorporating that. And pleasure can look many different ways, but really kind of incorporating that. Maybe you guys get a new toy or something, or you do some kinky shit, Lilith is kinky. So just 2 very different ways, but both are kind of honoring Lilith and this eclipse energy at the same time that I think y'all can benefit from, myself as well.
I love this. Lilith is kinky, and we both went kink when we talked about her. So.
Yeah. Seriously. Of course we would. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I love that you bring up conversations because Mercury brings in its punch and really emphasizes that here. Lilith brings the fucking straight up direct truth. This is what's real.
And don't forget, Venus is in Scorpio too. So it just adds that layer. There's going to be lots of kinky sex going on around the world.
There is definitely a punctuation on pleasure here. And the fact that, look, what's so funny is these aspects, these really pretty symmetrical ones literally make a V. If you were
I saw that.
From the right
I
angle,
love that.
So
that
funny.
Should be the title, a punctuation on pleasure.
I love that.
Solar Eclipse in Libra.
Yes.
A punctuation on pleasure.
It's so true.
Goodbye.
And on top of that, we have a big grand trine happening right here.
That's I saw what this that big too.
Blue triangle is. Yes. A trine is a conversation between planets of the same, that are in signs of the same element. That means that this is a water trine happening. It's forming from Venus and Scorpio to Mars and Cancer, over here to, of course, Saturn retrograde in Pisces, and then Saturn hits it back over to Venus and Scorpio again. And it's forming what we call a grand trine. When it forms that full triangle, we call it the grand trine.
It's kind of a big deal
Ash,
in astrology.
How would you describe a trine and a grand trine to folks that aren't sure what that is? Because I think that most people actually get that energy more than they think, because we are so elementally connected as humans.
I think people get it way more than they think too. We have the tendency to overcomplicate things as humans, and astrology is no different. A trine, people love to call it like a favorable aspect. I try to stay away from what's favorable and what's not. But yeah, because squares can be favorable too. Exactly. So what I like to say is, to echo what she said, a trine is when they're in conversation. So to explain like kind of the antithesis or like the opposite of it, an opposition is when they're not in conversation. They are not speaking. And a square might be when they're kind of in conversation, but the conversation might be more of a push-pull sort of conversation or a resistance of sorts. So, and a sextile is when they're in conversation, but they're kind of far away. They have to like yell across the room to say hi to each other is kind of the vibe. The way that I teach it, and if you've been a long-time listener, you may have heard this before, a sextile is like you're buying the girl a drink at the bar, but you haven't talked to her yet. And the trine is when you're taking the girl home. And then like, we're here, we done it, we're getting after it. And that's the best way to explain the conversation. Now, a grand trine is like, the best way that I can explain it, and please add to this, Danny, if you want to. It's like it's like magnifying the energy. Everything is bigger. I just got back from Texas. So I'm thinking everything's bigger in Texas right now. But yeah, it makes everything bigger. And so when we're looking at these grand trines, especially a grand trine in water, the water energy is moving, meaning intuitive energy, emotional energy, sensual energy, like all of that. It's moving. It's a vibe. So we, especially if you have any of your big three, sun, moon, or rising, in water signs, are really going to be feeling the effects of this eclipse. It doesn't mean anything negative, people. It just means that you're going to be feeling the effects of this eclipse. Negative and positive is solely dependent on what your situation is. Like if you have been in a depressed state, you may be more depressed. If you have been like, everything's always going right for me, you may feel more of that joy. Nothing is negative or positive in astrology. It just is. There just is a stellium in Libra. It's not negative or positive. That's what it is.
I appreciate that so much, because how we present this information can be kind of a debate in the astrological community, because there are definitely very large amounts and very well-known astrologers that present it and approach astrology in a very, what I would call binary, right? Like I would say, in these I struggle with the malefics and the benefic planets when we say these words that we know humans have a connotation attached to. Like, oh, malefic, this is a bad planet and it's bringing bad things. Oh, these are the benefics and they're bringing me the good things. When the truth is like, I don't know, if you've ever had a Venus square, don't tell me that you haven't seen some struggles in your Venus themes. Even though Venus is a benefic, and it's not, I've heard real astrologers say it's not possible for that planet to bring anything bad. And I don't find that to be helpful. Yeah, a helpful way to approach it. And instead, I have seen charts. I did synastry. I always bring it back to this. I did synastry for this couple. And she had kind of screened me a little bit on the relationship, and she got consent to bring both charts and brings them to me. And I was blown away because I was like, man, on paper, this should be, and I love this example because it was filled with trines. I have never seen this many trines in a synastry chart. And also in the partner's chart, in just their natal chart. I had never seen so many trines. I also, based on the real life context I was being given, was clearly reading the chart of a person who was taking all of those trines for granted. And these were very, very wasted talents and wasted skills. Or, because there was a lot of Scorpio in a lot of these trines, these were like misused. You know what I mean? Or these skills, it was like skills and talents that were, this person was very skilled in and had a talent for these things. And they were using it to manipulate this person. To keep them as a side chick, basically. Well, you know, I mean, it was very classic. I mean, I'm reading the astrology for you, my friend, but you know, it's one of those situations where like you need to not be in this relationship. And that's why I always use this example about trines because you'll hear so many astrologers say, "Oh, you have so many. Oh, this trines is such a good thing." Good. It depends.
Squares are bad.
Yes.
Not true. Not true.
The greatest gifts come from moving through challenges like squares and oppositions. So it's not really helpful to, and also that's subjective. To call something good and bad is also subjective. Very much in the first place. What's good to somebody could be totally shitty to somebody else. And so when I see this trine, I love what you said because I agree. When I talk about trines, I always tell people, I'm like, it's like this very open flow of energy and communication between these two planets. These often result in talents or skills that very often are things we don't appreciate fully about ourselves because they've always come very naturally. They've always been there. To us. Yeah. Yes. So one of mine is results in very, very comfortable communication, like one-to-one, but also in like group and public speaking settings. And that's something that a lot of people can really, really struggle with. And so if that is, there would be people that look in on me and they're like, oh my God, it's incredible that you can do that. And because it's always come easy to me and it's not been like a fear that I have to overcome. I'm always like, yeah, I mean, you know, it's never really made me nervous. So I just kind of get up and do it or whatever. Yes. That's a really good example of like a trine in my opinion. And so I love what you brought up because if you are a person who feels very natural and comfortable with water energy, I think that this might you might notice some of your sensitivities increase, but that might not be alarming for you. But then those folks that struggle with like a big surge in emotional sensitivity, especially in those around them, we could typically see them struggle during this upcoming eclipse and being like, whoa, who turned on all the emotions? Like, I can't handle all of these emotions pouring out of everyone and everything.
Exactly, 100%. And that's when you really lean into, again, you guys have heard me say this before, this is when you lean into your spiritual practice. You know, if you know that you're going to be hypersensitive to people's emotions and feelings, maybe now is not a good time to have some deep ass conversation with your mom. Maybe this is not a good time. You know, maybe it's not a good time to watch something deep on Netflix. Maybe it's a time to watch something light like Love is Blind or something like that. You know what I mean? We look at astrology to understand in what scenarios we function the best and in what scenarios we may not be functioning the best or what we are supposed to learn from a certain situation. For some of you where your emotions may be heightened or heavy or intense, maybe this is a moment where you channel that into channeling. Maybe you do deeper meditations over the eclipse. You know what I mean? Or you listen to binaural beats or whatnot, or you book an Akashic Records reading or something like that, or a past life regression. You channel that energy into something that's productive instead of sitting there, you know, not doing that. You know, I think sometimes we forget the reason why we study this work. And so I just like to remind people of that.
It's so, so important. And what you just made me think of spiritual practice wise and ritual wise, with this being a Libra solar eclipse conjunct or merged with Lilith and Mercury.
Yeah.
And also technically South Node, which is letting go, shedding stuff. I could see a really helpful ritual during this time, and do not come at me about no rituals during the eclipse. Don't come at Ashley or I about that.
No, we don't subscribe to that. Do your magic when you want to do your magic, honey.
Exactly. And if you don't want to do magic on the eclipse, that's totally fine. But I don't not do it because people are telling you not to do it.
Because somebody on TikTok told you the top 3 reasons why you shouldn't practice magic on the eclipse.
Yeah, especially when that doesn't even come from a witch. That's what drives me nuts.
I know.
I'm like, you don't even study magic and spell work. Why are you telling people this?
Practice your magic,
meanwhile,
honey.
all the chaos witches are like, oh, it's an eclipse coming up. Yeah.
Like, I'm going to get some water. I'm going to make some oils. I'm going to make some tinctures. I'm going to have some sex. We're going to get after it.
So true. It's so true. Oh my God. Sex magic is excellent for this, first of all.
Exactly. It really is.
Excellent ritual for this because...
Put it in your calendars, friends.
Yeah, straight up. Because orgasm is so similar and parallel, yes, to an eclipse energy. It's unpredictable. It's this peaking release of energy. You know what I mean? Like this would be whether it's self, partnered, multi-partnered, as long as it's all consensual, my friends, and everyone feels safe. Go the fuck after it. Exactly.
And go after it with an intention too. Like, what do you guys want? Like, what are you working towards? Do you guys want to buy a house? Do you want a bigger house? Are you looking to have a baby? Do you have a money goal for the end of 2025? Do you want to go on your first vacation? Do you want to become closer and more intimate as a partner or partners? Like, go into it with an intention and just really be with your people.
This would be a beautiful time to make some sort of promise or commitment to yourself. Like with Lilith standing there, like, what is something that you keep putting yourself aside, like over and over and over again for other people? Because this Libra scales bringing into balance. Lilith is here like, listen, I know that Libra scales are about self and other, but let's be honest, there's been a whole lot of fucking other. And on the flip side, trust me, Lilith will come out and balance on the counterbalance too and been like, there's been a whole lot of that. That
was a major theme that came up for me intuitively when I was teaching for the lunar eclipse in Pisces, putting the other first. So it's interesting that that came up for you today. So, in this second half of this eclipse season, it feels like this is going to be a major theme for us as a collective of like, what can we do more to put ourselves first? And putting ourselves first doesn't mean we're putting the other last. It just means what we value and what we need is of value as well, if not even more so, because when we're taking care of self, we are taking care of the other. I think that gets lost sometimes.
So you're bringing up such an important theme here because there have been several planetary, other interactions and certain planets themselves, certain transits themselves, that I feel like for the past year or two especially have been really, really drawing our attention to redefining our relationship with self, redefining our relationship to others. We're really doing some deep shadow work around being a collective, being in community with each other, having a
Chiron
relationship
and Aries.
to self. Yes, Chiron and Aries. I thought Saturn and Pisces, but yeah, exactly.
Saturn and Pisces too, but both major placements these last few years.
Yes, in that witch school, it's so funny you brought up the Pisces eclipse. I did multiple gatherings with my students for the Pisces eclipse, and we talked about these exact same things as well. These are the stories that the charts are bringing to our attention repeatedly for a reason. Don't ignore that stuff when it comes around repeatedly like this, and be willing to listen and do this shadow work around this. That's why Lilith is here. Be real with yourself about how much, let's call it what it is. Ash, what I think of are those people where it's like, how much effort are you putting into this relationship and how much effort are they putting into this relationship?
Right. Exactly.
Because every day I see examples where it's like, what the fuck are you accepting coming across your doorstep every single day with this bullshit? Fuck
100%.
And Lilith is here to help you say, fuck that too.
Fuck that. And we know our worth and we know what we deserve. And I think that's like the Achilles heel of Libra is Libra just her toxic trait. And every sign has a toxic trait. But like this toxic trait that Libra has is they just want to be like in communion with the other. And sometimes they'll take what they can get because they just want that connection. Mm-hmm. And so Libra sometimes, especially folks with lots of Libra placements, one of the themes that they have to move through in this life is recognizing that they don't have to just take what they can get, and they can put a parameter on what they desire and deserve and still attract love and still attract connection and still attract all of that without taking the scraps, like somebody else's scraps on the floor. And I'm not saying all Libras do that, but when we see the lower vibration of Libra, this is often what we see sometimes.
This eclipse might be helping you clean up remnants of that. So you might not be actively making the choice Ash is talking about. This eclipse might be bringing up for you that that is how you started some relationships that you're currently in. And if you're being honest with yourself, you are kind of reevaluating them right now. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. This is a good time for being honest with yourself and standing by that and knowing that Lilith is standing with you. I mean, how much more can we really even say about it? Exactly. Exactly. This was such a good dive really back into Shadow Chats. I am so excited for this next chapter for us. I know.
Speaking of water trines, super refreshing.
Yes, Ash, let especially any of our new listeners know where we can find you, follow you, support you, anything you're working on. Yes. Yeah, so the Goddess Complex podcast is my podcast, and that's where Astrology After Dark lives. We drop episodes towards the end of every month. So by the time you guys are listening to this, we would have dropped September's episode. So you can go check that out over there. I drop episodes every Thursday, Jupiter's Day. On the gram and TikTok, I'm Ashley Michelle 90 Day. And StarSeedShadows.com is where you can book with me. That's where I'm at. I'm also on the YouTube. I'm everywhere. Just find me. She's
find
everywhere.
Me on one platform, you find me on all platforms.
Yep. All of that info is in the show notes below. Of course, make sure you follow and show Ash all your support. Thanks for joining me today, my dear. This was so good.
Always. Can't wait for the next one.
So good. I know. Neighbor, thank you for your time and energy today. We are always incredibly grateful for the time that we spend with you here at Shadow Chats and That Witch podcast. Make sure during these eclipse portals, you're staying safe. Do your grounding. Do your cleansing. You're letting yourself have some fun. Remember all that Venus pleasure, right? And of course, my friend, make sure that you stay magical. Did you get something valuable out of today's show? Here's how you can help continue to grow our magic. First, you can head over to Apple or Spotify and leave a 5-star rating and review. You can also share a shout out on your social media page and make sure you tag me at thatwitch.nextdoor. And of course, you can just tell a friend that you think would enjoy the show and send them a link to the episode. Thank you so much, neighbor, for your support. I'll see you next time.